let us get into it with our Orisa here.
Executing. Ready for battle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Escort the payload. I'm escorting the payload.
Sure.
Assistance requested.
Probably a little bit early. Let's go back to this. You do this. Headshotting her isn't helping yet, but will be eventually. You swap down. Probably actually look at this. Yeah, okay.
Please move behind the barrier.
I don't necessarily love this barrier. How do you feel about this barrier?
I feel like the position and timing are both a bit off.
Right. Like, your cart is going to run right through this barrier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what you also run into is your deployment of this barrier is like, okay, your barrier broke, but you're not taking that much damage. You can fortify if you have to. You retreat back here, which I like. You're sort of falling into a position that makes more sense, that you can bow from. And then you're like, no, wait, my barrier's back. So you wander back in front of the cart, but then you don't set this very far in front of the cart at all. So, like, yes, you'll be able to stay to the right of the cart and use this barrier, but they'll also be able to, like, I don't know, just sort of generically be shoot. Like, if you're, let's pretend that we're the opposing Orisa, she's going to be able to shoot at your barrier and break it while you can't shoot her, right?
Right.
So, like, we don't love that. So as we get to this, we sort of go, well, I either wanted to get more aggressive with this barrier so that the cart didn't go through it as much so that I could use it more aggressively, or I wanted to just sort of go, okay, let me go over here and let me use this barrier more to the right of this cart, where it's like, I'm actually here, my barrier is protecting here, I can even off-angle through here. No reason I can't off-angle through here, I'm Orisa, but it works, etc., or punch it down here. And I don't like their ability to shoot at both sides of it, don't get me wrong, but I like having those angle options myself. I don't expect that I'm going to not be using it, and it's kind of better than, how do I say this, than this, that your cart's going to just go right through. But not a huge deal. Reasonable, good, great. We're gonna halter back. Yes, no, maybe so. Okay. This
I
is.
was afraid of the eat. Like, in general, when should I be pulling
So if you
divas?
send a halt right here, like, yes, she could 180 and hit an eat on you. Is she actually going to 180 and hit an eat on you when, say, there's a
Unlikely.
hog right there? Right. So it's the sort of thing where her attention is a resource, and it's not on you right now. So if you hit the halt, yes, her boosters will potentially continue a little bit, whatever. But if you just throw an halt right behind her, it's going to mess her up pretty bad, and you and hog are probably going to destroy her, and she's going to be stuck, right?
Okay, makes sense.
So, yeah, like, yes, there's a risk of eat, but eat's also, or excuse me, not eat, halt's also a shorter cooldown now. So, like, if it does get eaten, not a huge deal. Was there anything else that you were going to throw a halt at in the next, say, 6 seconds that was like, oh, this is going to be great?
Nope.
So I'll use it to have, let's say, a 60%, 70% chance of securing this elimination. That sounds better than anything I'm going to get over here with a halt.
Okay.
And then you went for the fortify here. And was that because of the tracer in your face? Is that what was going on there?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So I wasn't too worried about that, not because, like, oh, I know that this tracer isn't any good or anything, but I'm looking at this. And okay, there's a tracer there. There's a tracer right there. She's not really paying attention to you. She's paying attention to someone behind you. She hasn't stuck you with a pulse bomb or anything. And while I do want you to fortify before you're out of armor, I'd say you've got a good 240 health before that happens, right?
Okay.
So you can be closer to that armor threshold before we worry about this fortifying.
Get behind the barrier.
Okay. Sure.
Please move behind the barrier. You are advised to move behind my barrier.
I'm not sure I want to drop this barrier yet. Who's threatening this space?
Nobody.
And you're now committed to this being your line in the sand for 10 seconds or 600 health, and I don't know that 600 health is going to go before 10 seconds are up. So like I don't
Hmm.
like this line in the sand. I'm going to want to know, like I'm stopping my own ability to go no no no, I want a deeper angle. I'm stopping my ability to go, oh, shoot, 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 have to retreat a little bit. Like, this isn't really the line in the sand I want. But also, the cover that this is extending for you is like down here, which is kind of sucky as cover, right? Like,
Right.
so yeah, I'm not going to put the shield here.
You're not getting away. I'm not.
Still have 600 health, and we're halfway through our barrier cooldown here. So cute.
What? But
That's Baptiste. What happens if we pull Baptiste off the high ground?
He jumps back up.
Yes. Yes. All good.
not so
And again, if you
fast.
thought you were going to finish him or something, that's fine, but you didn't really have good lead damage or anything there. And
Yeah, I just called him out. Like I thought we could.
got it.
Oh, maybe pick the Baptiste, but yeah, nah, not the best.
All good. Sure. You're going to want this reload back, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. And that's conceptually, like, this is the same thing I was asking you to do earlier. We just didn't quite hit it. If she's not looking, we try to throw the halt. We just don't get it there in time. Not a big deal.
Engaging fortification. Please move behind the barrier. Stop right there. Please move behind the
Putting
barrier.
down a barrier.
Stop right there.
Barrier's not going to break, so it's okay. Fine. Are you going to go take high ground? No.
I might walk up the stairs. I'm not sure.
Okay. Some aggressive high ground taking.
Don't move.
Okay. It's aggressive, but I like it.
Barrier activated.
Okay. So we talked about barrier placement last time we reviewed Orisa,
Hmm.
and the thing that I would go into here is you can drop a shield when your team is ready to push, threaten, engage, whatever it's called, or you can drop a barrier when you're confident that you've got, 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds before your team is ready to initiate. Which is this?
This is more of a poke shield, I
Okay.
think.
Okay. And you think you've got the time and that your team will be ready for the next one and your team isn't going to be waiting on your next one significantly. Yes?
I thought so at the time. Was
Okay,
I
that's
incorrect?
fine. No, no, no. I actually
Okay.
think that's appropriate. I'm pushing you because it's my job to push you.
Okay.
It's all good. Okay. And your barrier breaks, and I'd say your team still isn't fully ready. They're getting some value, so this works for me.
Defense mode activated. Barrier activated.
So you did this one. Okay, your barrier broke. What do you see here that makes this worth fortifying for?
I saw the Orisa at half, but I neglected to realize that like Brig was just gonna heal her.
Yeah, I mean, Brig is, she's going to get some healing potentially. She's also got cover that's pretty accessible to her. And how do I want to put this? You just told me beforehand that this wasn't a serious barrier from you. This was a poke barrier. You don't expect that you have like full team support. So these enemies are distracted, but not heavily distracted, right?
Right. Okay.
So like if that was a poke barrier, well, it probably doesn't make sense to fortify off of it unless you're pretty sure you're going to get an elimination off of using that fortify, because your fortify is definitely something that you want to have for the actual fight, right?
Okay. That makes sense.
And the actual fight can be still poke v poke. Don't get me wrong; it doesn't have to be in each other's face. But okay,
Defense mode
yeah,
activated.
and that happens, and now we wasted our fortify basically.
Assistance requested. Heroes never die. Please move behind the barrier.
Back to Tracer, fine. Tracer now can't play, so what do you need to do? What are you looking to do right now in this fight?
Ooh boy.
If you didn't have
Uh,
Velt going, what would you be looking to do in this fight?
Set up high ground.
Um, sure, you could set up high ground. I'm actually looking to make this fight real to sort of round this corner a bit. If you round this corner, they kind of have to take this fight, right? Like they don't really have the
Okay.
option of just surrendering space anymore if you round this corner. Like they can, but then they're surrendering all the way to here. So I'm actually looking to go, hey, can we get this supercharger on the board? But you're Valking, so we won't worry about that too much. And I wanted to do that because their Tracer was no longer going to be able to come in and just take care of your supercharger. You spent your halt and forced her recall, etc. But that's okay.
Okay.
You are advised to
Sure.
move behind my back.
Great. Okay, she did it. You'd have hit the same timing if you'd had your way. Where would you have put this supercharger if you hit a supercharger right now?
Under the little awning area, maybe, like in
Over
the
here?
doorway. Yeah.
Yep, that would work just fine. That would
Okay.
work just fine. Okay.
Cease your resistance.
Go with that. Get hers. We're good.
Exceeding standard performance metric.
And your timing was basically what we were looking for, so I'm good.
Fortifying defenses. You're not getting the rocket barrage incoming.
So I'm probably just not willing to do this.
The pole.
It's a short cooldown, don't get me wrong, but that diva's just so healthy. And like, yes, Hanzo's gonna shoot at her too, but like, you're just not going to demech her, right?
Okay.
And like, if you're not going to demech her and you're not actually going to get her off the high ground, and I don't think either of those things were going to happen, I'm like, I'll probably hold on to this for finishing someone off for a respawn. Like, it is one of your good offensive cooldowns.
Barrier activated. Stop.
Though it is very short, so you still get to use it here. Okay, so you're doing a lot of this. A lot of this melee stuff, and I wasn't going to be too critical of this, but it's the sort of thing where, how do I want to put this?
Too many melees.
Yes, that's ultimately what I'm going to say. But we look at this and go, if you're Winston, meleeing isn't a DPS loss. But if you're Orisa, you do a fair amount more damage than Winston, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
With your
And
left
the
click.
headshot, obviously.
Right. And then there's the headshot opportunity, there's all this. And we look at this, and if you were against Tracer like you were earlier, it's like Tracer's hard to hit and every bit of damage matters on her and she really doesn't like it. So you get the more generous hitbox for the melee, sure. But like against BAP, you can hit BAP. I don't care if you have to aim at his abdomen. I don't care if you have to take 2 steps back and aim and then get your headshots. I don't care if you have to use Halt. Obviously, you don't have Halt right now. But you can hit BAP. You're not going to hit every shot, but even if you're hitting 60% of your shots, you're going to get more than you're going to do by weaving melees here. So I'm going to want that.
Stand back. Not so fast. Vital signs negative. Get in here. Please move behind the barrier. Halt. Halt.
Okay, she's there, and she's going to protect that, and he's not about to get eliminated, right?
Right.
So we just flick over to her immediately. It's very easy
That's
to
good.
predict. Her movement is 100% controlled at this point and if she turns off, we can go back to Soldier. But her movement is incredibly predictable, and we'll just be like, why 200 damage on Diva? Thank you, I'll take that. Okay.
I recommend moving behind.
Sure. Okay, if this barrier breaks, where are you going?
Back behind the missiles.
Okay. Okay. I'm not in love with it because you're sort of going to have to like leave early if that's your plan, right?
Okay.
So I would have preferred that this barrier be a little more aggressive still and your plan actually be behind these.
Oh. Okay, truck.
Yeah.
Sniper detected.
Right. Like now you're in the, well, I would have had to leave early. I don't feel like leaving early, so I'm going to fortify. And I'm okay with that. This was real enough. Your team is here and can support this real enough. We can fortify and take this fight. That's fine. But you sort of had to, too. And now he's backing out because he went, I got fortify. I'm good, right? Like, I don't need to fight you anymore, and you don't really like that. Sure. Oh boy.
Safety, get behind the barrier.
What barrier are you what cover are you extending with this barrier?
Absolutely none.
Right. So like if you had the payload in play, maybe you'd be extending payload cover, and I think probably the payload will be there, and you'll be able to sort of be like, I'm standing to the right of the payload and use that. But the real answer was, hey, you know what? Let me throw this barrier a little bit further, and now I have this cover that I'm extending that I can fall behind, or I can even rotate further behind against the high ground if I have to. It's not perfect, but it's a heck of a lot better than, well, if you break my barrier, I have to fortify, which I can't do.
Heroes never. I recommend moving behind my barrier. Stop.
You just felt this was the appropriate amount of time to look away from the Widow? Is that what's going on here?
Yes.
Okay.
Not so fast.
Again, I don't like that all that much.
Okay.
This isn't a worthless halt, but you know that this halt isn't going to eliminate this Anna. It's just going to pressure her and make her play safer. Okay, I can potentially live with that, but I sure would have preferred the halt on, say, oh, look, I've hurt the Mercy. Now I can potentially finish her with a halt type thing. Not really, because you
Okay.
didn't get her lower enough. But, like, if you'd already seen Anna had spent something, or if Anna you'd already heard, you don't really want to halt people just to get them out unless you've got other people who are going to follow up on it. And it's ladder. I don't trust other
Would
people.
calling it out in chat be enough, or just default to not trusting?
Um,
Because I did call the Ana one.
Sure.
Would that change anything?
So it does. It makes it better. It absolutely makes it better, and I strongly encourage you to think about it. But you tell me, who of your team is not busy and can shoot at the Anna right now?
Not busy. Okay, nobody.
Well, I mean, I don't
just
know.
I kind of threw blind hope into the Hanzo because like I knew he was listening because he shot someone the
Sure.
loadout.
And the truth is, unfortunately, he dropped here. If he hadn't dropped, maybe he could have, but not really,
Yeah,
because
I
like
gotcha.
you see what I'm saying here. So like you
Mhm.
have to have a macro sense of, does your Hanzo have the sight line? Is there a Genji in your Hanzo's face? Is there a Tracer in your Hanzo's face? That sort of thing, if you're going to count on that. And again, it's the sort of thing where I don't mind pulling people out, especially if your whole team is lined up. Like if we were on Sanctum and it was the first rotation and both teams were pushing high ground and you went, I'm gonna halt people above the other Orisa's barrier. Well, yeah, your whole team is paying attention in that direction, and of course they're going to see it, and you calling it is absolutely enough to believe that you're going to get something out of it. But this fight is pretty broken down. People are kind of, I don't want to say doing their own things, but Hanzo might be dealing with Soldier, things like that at this point, where it's like you're kind of spread dealing with your stuff, etc. So I'd really prefer that you soften a target before you halt it back into the open, unless again it's kind of early in the fight and then you have cooldowns. Early in the fight, when everyone has cooldowns, you're a little more likely to get follow up. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. But you should call it even later in the fight like this. Okay. You don't have the ammo. Oh, this hurts so much. Like you're like, I'm gonna go on this secret mission, but you've got 23 shots. Well, that's one way.
Not getting away. Don't move.
Yeah, okay. I don't know why you early fortify here. She hasn't turned. Her sleep dart has a wind up. I don't care if you get purpled. So this is an early fortify. And then you go for this here, which is reasonable, except that you're out of ammo.
Yeah. The one time I lose track of ammo.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's beaming to a couple people, so we've got some value. You go here. You're not protecting your supercharger. You're not protecting your supercharger. You hit it.
Immortality field down.
It's not gone yet. It's gone. Okay, it's gone before you. You don't even put a barrier down when it's available. Okay, interesting.
No, I should have.
Yeah.
You're not
I
getting
thought
away.
you were trying to greed enough to not interrupt your thing, where you're like, I can protect it and get my reload. I can protect it and get my reload. But no, none of the above. Sure. I mean, this is just how. Was that halt for Mercy or for Widow?
Mercy.
Okay,
I didn't predict her flying.
got it.
Did not get this kind
That's just what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you mostly play Reinhardts and Divas, but
Sure.
like that's sort of what they do. Where it's like you put any pressure, a swift wind, and Mercy's fly. So you really want to be predictive of like again, put a little bit of damage pressure on her. She reacts with that, and then you stop her with halt type thing, and she goes, "Shoot, I'm stuck." That's more how you want to think with her. Worked out though, because she reacts to your halt with the GA, and then the hook comes out to catch her halt. Because Hog knows how Mercy works. But that's good. Okay, so we want to think a bit more about your barriers, both from a they're your line in the sand thing, and from a, well, where are you going to go when they break thing? Or are you just demanding that you're going to fortify if they break? And that's not as good as having a cover option there. We also get a little bit, as we saw here, into the, hey, we would like pressure on people before we follow up with halt. Halt is sort of like our finisher, the second hit type thing, but that's okay. Okay, that's shallow. So when you do the straight up thing, you're going to adjust. Good. When you do the straight up thing, it really does go straight up and down. So like it's, well, you see how it falls.
5, 4, 3.
I'm trying to perfect it.
You are, but you're learning on the fly. You're adjusting.
Yeah.
That's still going to be a little shallow, I think, of what you want.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ah, darn it.
So you want to stand, like, you want to literally be like, I'm going to stand here, and I'm going to up-down type thing, because, like,
Okay.
that's what you want. You don't want that level of shallow, but okay. The truth is, you also could have triple stacked this one a bit, where, like, you look at this, and you did your early barrier. Congrats, your barrier's down, and there's 4 seconds left on your cooldown. Is anything meaningful happening to your shield right now? Your shield's still at 600
No.
HP. Could you do a quick vertical flip and place another shield?
Mm, yeah, probably.
You've still got more than half this shield left. It might leave you like a second without a shield, but it's kind of going to let you continue to abuse shield cooldown here. So it's not a big deal, but this was one where because you had such a lead on your first shield, you can kind of vertical your second shield a bit.
Halt.
Yeah.
And it turns out it would have held, and you'd already have your cooldown rolling on your third shield effectively here, right? While having a
Right.
full health shield? Okay, cool. That's the floor you're shooting. It doesn't appreciate that. Okay.
This might be really off topic, but I recall the first time I ever did a Orisa review, you talked about like covering the full range of motion when I get a pull. I've been finding that like really, really difficult. Do you have any like tips on how I could improve that, like over time?
Sure. So what you want to do is you know that they're going to get yoinked in and you know when they're going to get yoinked in. So what I would say is I care less about getting them. I want to shoot. I don't expect you. So if we send a halt out, it's hard because you can't see drawing on my screen. Let's say we send a halt out at the left yellow sign. So this third sign
Okay.
here from this perspective on we're trying to hit him. I'm perfectly okay if we're shooting mostly um, at Bap's head, and then we start leading away from Bap because we expect Bap to try to run away from the pull, right?
Right, okay.
And then you know the halt timing because you're triggering it. So when you pull the halt, you immediately flick in and flick all the way in to shoot just to the right and above or below the halt, wherever his head is going to be. That I'm good with. I don't need you to be like, ah, yes, I'm tracking in the whole time. I can be tracking out, and then I hit that, and then I hard flick in when I pull him because I know what that timing is. That's okay with me. But then
So it's less tracking and more prediction?
absolutely, because you're controlling
Okay.
his movement. Like your halt,
That's what I've been missing
he's
out.
going to run away from your halt, so you have a pretty good idea of where he's going to go. He gets pulled into your halt, and then he's probably going to run away from your halt again to cover, or if you halted him up, he's going to fall, and you can already be leading down. You don't need to hold him up, but sometimes you do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Like if we look at this one, your initial target, of course, is the Lucio. You're not getting the Lucio. You adjust reasonably to, wait, I see that's going to hook on the soldier. You're in a reasonable spot for him. And we should be adjusting. He's going to fall, which is fine, but he's also going to then immediately start going right. We can see his movement, and you're aiming to the left of him, and you adjust to his feet and shoot his feet, but we'd like to be going further right. Doesn't matter because Hanzo's shooting at him too, and he gets eliminated, but that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
And then you start to adjust right. Yeah. Huh, that was hopeful. So like you're doing this.
You require medical attention.
That's a hog. I'm
I
scared about the
recommend
hog.
moving behind my barrier.
Do I want the shield that far forward, or do I want the shield just barely in front of my BAP?
Barely in front.
Right, because I want to maximize the time that hog has to continue to walk forward. That was like a shoot, and he's immediately through it type thing, and I'm not even sure what else you're going to get value for it in this barrier. I mean, maybe, but it's not like this is exactly where you'd want to have wanted the bear if you drove him off so you could shoot down there or anything. So, all good. I mean, I guess, but like, yay, we pulled Reinhardt off the cart. Reinhardt was going to let you shoot at his shield regardless, right?
Right.
And this wasn't going to like let you get Lucio because, well, there's a Reinhardt shield in the way. So like, I'm just going to hold this halt. Again, it's a 6-second cooldown, so it's not as expensive as it used to be to throw out junk halts. But like, this Reinhardt I literally don't think you got anything out of this halt. Mm-hmm.
On safety, get behind the barrier.
Sure.
The payload has reached the check.
Okay, so this is a problem. Because we look at this, and you might be losing this fight.
On safety, get behind the barrier.
And you might have gone, no, I'm going to play from here because I still think we're in the fight. And then you realize, oh, shoot, we're close. I mean, you just got it, right? You do have Fortify. It's okay as Orisa to go, hey, we're playing a poke comp. I'm going to soften the comp up. I'm not going to stop them and take the fight right here. I'm going to let it go deeper, deeper. We get a bigger advantage. We get a bigger advantage. And then we commit and take our fight here. But even if things go wrong, you've got to commit and take your fight here, right? Like, there is no I'm just going to poke forever situation to the point of them getting the cap on Orisa. You are going, hey, we accept it's okay if you get more distance on us than you might on a Brawl or a Poke team, because we'll win this fight even if the cart gets to here, even if the cart gets to here on their first fight, and then you're going to win future fights faster because, hey, you have A, ult, but B, they're having to walk through without the cover of the cart to get into these positions, which lets you poke them down faster, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
So that's sort of how it works. But regardless, even if you're not winning, even if, oh shoot, we didn't get enough of a lead to believe that we can win the brawl phase, well, A, I'm not sure that's true. Like, how's this fight look?
Not too terrible,
Right.
all things considered. Yeah,
You
not too
have a
bad.
window on the board. You've basically got yourself, not quite a 3v3. Their soldier's going to be relevant in a second. But, your hog's going to be relevant in 2 seconds. So, like, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, we put our barrier here because we were worried about Tracer shenanigans, and shoot, we're now going to have to move over here. But we do have Fortify to do that, right?
Right.
So we got it. Like, we simply gotta, because we can't just be like, I'm going to poke until we win. It's no, we're going to poke until either we have a big enough lead that we can win, or objective pressure simply forces the issue. And that was his win con. His win con was objective pressure forces the issue, and he got to it. Did he get to it before you poked them down hard enough? Yeah, he probably did. But you still have to battle him in his win con rather than just give him the win, right?
That makes sense.
Okay.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Oh, this is gonna be sad if you then win this fight. Which, could have potentially happened with some Sky support from you and Papier, but okay, cool. All good. All good. I'm not telling you to win the fight at that point. I'm just being sad. It's probably a little too much greed. This is fine. Now that the Tracer's starting to work up, we really slow ourselves down by shooting here. I'm probably going to put pressure on Tracer and then flip back, or I'm going to stop shooting and run away at this point, because, like, you're just sort of letting her do this. Yeah.
Double move.
Yeah. So we didn't really get out fast enough, and we didn't really put pressure on, again. If here we'd been like, hey, a little pressure on the Lucio, a little pressure on the Tracer, they're probably not going to chase us around this corner, because they're like, wait, we don't like that. They might spend time going getting health packs, they might spend time in heal aura, whatever. Then you're here, and we're in this situation, and we haven't hurt this Lucio yet, and we're throwing that halt, into a wall. Like, oh no, we pulled Lucio to a wall, his arch nemesis. Wait a second. Like, no, you pull him off of walls. And now he's weak, and now he's in a situation where if you pulled Lucio to where your crosshair is now, or just below where your crosshair is now, you could potentially eliminate him, right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Better. Good. And I don't need to point out that this time you pulled a hog that was half health out, and by pulling a hog that was half health out, he gets eliminated. Cool. Oh, this will be interesting.
Either will.
Not so fast.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, so why didn't that work?
I didn't have a lot of ammo to begin with. We didn't really have
Not so
a good
fast.
position. He.
Which of your teammates is helping you fight Reinhardt?
Oh, nobody.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I had support from high ground. That's why I push it. Yeah, I don't
Right, but
understand.
even if you'd had high ground support in kind of a standard spot here, they'd have had to like run out here to support. It's sort of like, don't get me wrong, this isn't terrible, but I sort of looked at this and went, you don't have the high ground support. I am actually worried about him successfully retreating to this health pack. And you're using your fortify to push this, which using your fortify to finish him would be totally fine if it was like, hey, he's already at 200 health or something. But yeah, yeah. Okay, not a big deal. You just didn't realize that you didn't have the level of support you thought you did. I'm gonna halt him back. You have to halt him back. Cool. Oh no. Good. She just recalled, which means you can do this. You're not going to. And she velked. Okay.
Let them up.
Okay, so what's your plan to win the next fight? It's obvious, but what's your plan?
Protect it.
What was that?
Bongo early and protect it.
You got it. Where's your bongo going to be most impactful with this next fight?
At the bottom of the staircase.
Could be. But you're probably pretty safe with your bongo up here, right? It's probably going to be able to see enough
Ooh.
from up here. Yeah.
I did not do that, I don't think.
No, you didn't. Because if you were going to
Yeah.
do that, you had to be pre-positioning up here. Like, you're out
Yeah.
here finishing off Tracer, and I'm like, well, you know, if you get her, it works. But now we're in this situation, and I don't mind. Like, she used her recall. It's not the end of the world. I'm not ready to push this hog, though, because their staggers they're not staggering anymore. They're coming back. But he's unhappy. And you have Fortify. Good. Good. But this is making it remarkably difficult to use our bongo.
Cease your resistance.
You're putting it deep in there. You're putting it very deep in there because you're worried about that Reinhardt following you around a corner. But you see how hard it is with it that deep in there to reach anyone?
Yeah.
Like, it's really got to be one bongo to the left. And it's not one bongo or 1.5 bongos to the left because the Reinhardt was there, which really just means, again, it's okay. I understand what you did here with the hog. It's unfortunate that the hog is already back here and eliminated again. That's okay. We'll just have multiple hog corpses. It's unfortunate, but this is again because like you're trying to leave the brawl phase in bongo, which is just going to be really hard to do. But that's okay. Oh, because that was our hog. Got it. Got it. Yep. Yep. Sure. You can go fishing. No.
Defense mode activated.
Okay. What do you think? The Reinhardt's a bit back. You could start putting pressure on him. Do you want to use this time to put pressure on Reinhardt, or do you want to use this time to rotate high ground?
Probably rotate high ground.
Why?
Because in the long run, the Ryan's not going to be able to get there. Like, I stop him now, but, like, he's going to be able to run me down. He
Right.
can't run me down on high ground.
Right. The only difference here is Reinhardt might get to push the cart a few meters if you go high ground. You're like, okay, I'm going to spend time going up here so I can keep Soldier honest or make Soldier leave, one of the two. Reinhardt is then going to get to cart without me shooting him on the way. That's true. But Reinhardt is going to have to continue his rotation the same way I did, moving the same distance I did. So yeah, you got it. You got it. That's a lot of time before you swap over to Soldier there. So like, boom, we're taking that damage. You're deciding that you want BAP, and I get that, I do, but like, if we shoot Soldier, he'll probably stop shooting at us. Okay. Our battle line in the ground kind of sucked. What is this shield doing? But okay. And then you just chase Lucio into the open. Okay. Yeah. You're just not worried enough. I mean, the Soldier basically just wrecked you, like this whole fight, we can effectively say. And this is like, hey, we really like finishing off the BAP. BAP is a great target to hit, don't get me wrong. But we sort of know how Overwatch works of, do we shoot at targets, like generally speaking, when other targets are shooting at us, or do we make the other target leave and then shoot at the target?
We make the other target leave.
Right. So, like, if this was some, like, no, this second, this absolutely matters. Like, if we're Hanzo sending out a Dragon Strike and do a grab, we might go, no, I'm going to do it right now. If we're Genji, who's like, I'm just going to ignore you and hit my dash because it's part of a coordinated dive, sure. If you were throwing the Halt and it's like, oh, I did my countdown and my Halt has to go out now because for some reason I pre-counted my Halt, sure, maybe. But there wasn't anything where it's like, oh, this is a combo that my team is counting on and the whole thing falls apart right here if I don't do it. So, no.
Tracer here.
I'm still new at this. The payload has reached the checkpoint. Stop right there.
Sure. It's a lot of time that you're distracted by this Lucio. So that Lucio's there, and I don't mind shooting at him now. But now I recognize that there's a Soldier over there, and I hear the Hog. And what am I doing? Like, am I fighting the Hog? Am I shooting at the Soldier? I think you're just lost. So what do you think you should have done here?
For the Hog.
Okay. You don't have the Fortify, so it's going to be tough to fight the Hog at close range here. But I agree. Fighting him here in your lamp probably does, yes, make sense. Taking your 3v1 out of the Soldier's sightline.
Let them up.
Summoning emergency services.
Work your way forward. Recognize the card issue. Good. That was an interesting visor. He's gonna swap, right? Right?
I'm on fire.
Hello. There they are.
You are advised
Yes.
to move behind my barrier.
Sure. Sure. That was
Plan.
oh, I better swap it.
Yeah.
Not so fast.
Okay. Sure. A little surrounded. Better. Yep.
Cease your resistance.
Okay.
Stop right there. I recommend moving behind my barrier. Digging in.
Okay, where are you gonna be when this fortify ends? We'll shoot. Not that it's gonna matter. Yeah, I can live with that. That supercharger was reasonable. Your retreat was probably a little late, but you guys had a plan there. I don't know if that was coordinated in comms, but it looks like you had a plan there to keep them in the middle for the high noon.
Not like super coordinated.
What's that?
Not like super duper coordinated, but
Okay.
like we kind of had. I just called out like I'm dying on card.
Okay.
Please move behind the barrier. The payload is approved.
So what we'd sort of get into here then is like, yeah, I'll go over it. So
I recommend moving behind
here we
the
are.
barrier.
We're using the last of our supercharger, trying to get what we can. We're mostly getting it. Supercharger's about to wear out. We didn't get eliminations, but we got some value, and that's gone. Fine. Not a big deal. So now we're looking at this, and we sort of go, well, we didn't really soften this team up enough to feel like we can win in the brawl, did we?
No, not realistically.
Right. So we've got to look at this and go, okay, well, my supercharger's over. I can shoot them.
I recommend moving behind the barrier.
I need to be backing. And I probably need to be backing faster, because I already know that if I keep shooting at them, they are going to catch me. Like, if you shoot, you move really slow, right? Do you feel like you can get out to the next set of cover at this point and set up a barrier there, or no?
Probably.
Right. Like, if you want, you can fall back to here and drop a shield here and soften them up from here a little more, right?
Okay.
And that's probably going to be worth doing, even if you have to use your Fortify to do it, which you probably will, and then go, okay, I'll play from here, and I'll extend my barrier from here and do that, because I do need to soften this team up just a little bit more before I feel like we've won. But yeah. You instead do this, where you're like, no, I need the damage right now, but if you sit here and shoot right here, you are entering brawl phase. And I don't think you're going to win the brawl phase right now. It's not like you're going to absolutely get crushed, but I don't think you're going to win this brawl phase. I don't see enough out of them in terms of resources that they've spent.
Booting.
Sure. You do this. You throw that barrier down. And I totally see the BAP over there, and you want the BAP, so be it. We really want this BAP more than the Kree. He rolls away on his own. That's nice of him. Sure.
Fortifying defenses.
Okay.
Fortifying defenses.
You really had that whole time.
Please move behind the barrier. The payload is approaching its destination.
Put that up
Fortifying
there.
defenses.
Yeah. What is this? Is this you? Who are you trying? Like, are you trying to drop a barrier here? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I thought I had cooldown.
Got it. Okay.
Fortifying defenses.
Got it. So you just thought you were here. That's unfortunate because it would have been more damage pressure on Korean, would have forced him to, what do you call it earlier? Okay. Pull the trigger. That's the word I'm looking for.
Let them up.
Okay.
Ready. Ready.
Oh, you
for
guys have
battle.
some time banks for this. And a little further forward. Okay, we're making progress.
Five, 4, 3.
This one's going to be further
One.
back, sort of. You're trying to turn it more.
This will be your shield. Stop the payload.
Paris pour commencer.
Ah,
Activating the barrier.
yeah.
Enemy contact.
Further back, like I mentioned. You do need to redeploy this. Yeah, there you go.
Behind the barrier.
Some healing. Rex ready.
So you do get it now where it's just going to go like straight up and come straight back
Yeah.
down thing. There's no curvature to it really when you throw it. Okay, cool. Obviously, yes, this is one of those situations where you can go full health, don't care, we have a bastion.
Engaging
Sure.
eyes to
I don't want to shoot him. Why don't I want to shoot him?
I'm slower.
Right. And I am desperately interested in spending the next third of a second to get myself to here, right?
Right.
Okay.
don't move. Rally navigation systems to defense.
So this happened.
Through your
Had
own
to use all your
safety,
cooldowns,
get
no
behind
problem.
the barrier.
Your fortify is about to end and your barrier just broke. Where's your cover going to be?
Behind the sun. Behind me.
Okay.
Which is where I was trying to go, but
Got
I
it.
could not
Okay.
navigate backwards.
Understood. Good.
Please move behind the barrier. I'm on fire. I recommend moving behind the barrier.
You can get that high ground back. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. So, I totally get it.
I recommend moving behind my barrier.
How do I want to put this? You're here. Okay, we finished off Soldier. There's enemies hanging around, don't get me wrong, and it would be nice to finish those enemies and get additional staggers. But are you in a place where you're worried about them capping this point yet?
Not really.
Right. So it's important that we take high ground. Not only does it help us, it also stops enemies from taking it, right? Like, we don't want enemies up here, and we don't want enemies over here. And your Bastion got the memo and is like here, so you could go up here with him, or you could go up over here. Either of these is going to be helpful. Don't get me wrong. Either of these is going to be helpful. But staying on cart is only really useful if you need to, like, retreat to cart to stop it from capping. You're not willing to stop cart against a Reinhardt until you've softened that Reinhardt up, unless this is about to cap, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so let's try and manage this preemptively a little bit better. And this is a confusing one because there's still people alive that you haven't finished off, and you're like, is this still cleanup? Am I staging for the next fight? What are we doing? Oh, I'm chasing down Lucio. Oh, we got him. I guess I'm going back. Well, no. We're not going back. We're going up over here, and then maybe we're like, oh, hey, I'm going to fight this thing and make it leave, whatever. Or maybe we're going, hey, I'm going up here and accepting that they have two angles on us, but we're probably not going to point.
Get me.
Now you're locked in for this, and you'll soften him up some, but
30 seconds.
this is kind of a lost fight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not because of numbers. Like, numbers-wise, yeah, they've got a little bit on you, but, like,
Positioning.
right. Like, and this totally didn't have to be the case. You could have tried to battle for this, or you could have just bunkered down with Bastion and said, I dare you guys to try to take this space. Either one of those would have made this a lot less one-sided.
For your safety, please move behind the barrier.
Oh, looks like you needed some healing. Target in sight.
Nano that minute. 10 seconds. Stay there.
Okay. So obviously we didn't lose the fight, but the reason we didn't lose the fight is because Bastion was able to invert his kit by using the tank mode and was able to take this back. I mean, tank mode, nano, worked, we got this back, and then we had the concave on them, which was nice because the Reinhardt walked in here to get eliminated. But we obviously recognize that the setup
Shouldn't
for
have
that,
won it. Yeah.
right.
Cease your resistance. Finishing them off. Round 3. Complete. One.
Regen burst activated.
Ability increased.
Enemies in our orbit. Barrier won't hold together.
Sure. Sure.
Activating the barrier.
Lead it appropriately. Good effort. Great. Sure.
Please move behind the barrier. The payload is approaching its destination. Course of action.
Regen.
Okay. So, if I had to look at this, there's a couple things that I'd say. I'd probably start with your shield
Initiating
placement. Like, I
match.
want you to recognize that when you put the shield down, that's sort of becoming a battle line of like, this is where it is, etc. So you don't want to commit that when you're not actually sure that this is where it is, when like people aren't yet. It's not like I put my shield down and then I start firing. It's like, oh, it is someone actually shooting at me type thing, my shield's going to go down. There's exceptions to that. If you have time to like pre-stack shields, do things like that to throw a shield down and start the cooldown rolling, that's totally fine. But we want to be careful of, hey, I'm putting down a shield and then whoops, no one shoots at it type thing. And that's usually going to happen if you fall into this habit of I put my shield down and start shooting. It's just part of the hero works when it's like, nah, you've got cover. You can start shooting, and then once they start paying attention to you, you can drop the shield, or you can close the angle, drop the shield, reopen it, whatever you want to do there, because your shield does have a deploy time that's meaningful. But we don't want your shields to get caught, but more, we want to understand that our shield is sort of like our battle line, but we also do want our shield extending cover. Like the biggest thing surrounding your shields, I'd say, is we want our shields extending cover that we can use. Like we don't use cover quite the same. We're not quite as good around cover as say Sigma is, but our hero has been turned a little more into that. And really, she was always that to a degree. Your shields always should have been extending cover, but how flimsy your shields are has made our care of cover even greater. So if we can, we'd really like our shields to extend cover, and we don't want our shields to end up in situations where, okay, if this breaks, I'm gonna have to like retreat back to here. We really want it to be, okay, if it breaks, I can immediately behind this. I can be ready, almost already behind this before the shield breaks and still be doing fine damage, and then just go the rest of the way behind it when it breaks because, hey, there's big damage incoming. And then maybe I even swing around and shoot from a little angle on the other side here. But like, that's the first thing I want us to understand. So our shield placement specifically should be extending cover, shouldn't just be out in the open, and should be when our opponents have already shown a willingness and indication that they're shooting us. With me so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Next thing that we're going to get into, we've covered this with your Reinhardt. The Hollywood review, if memory serves, that we did of your Reinhardt, we talked about, hey, why are you taking long rotations against Orisa as Reinhardt, right?
Right.
Hey, why are you letting Reinhardt get close? Anyway,
So
we
it's the
just want to flip
opposite.
that. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. We're just
Why am I
going.
taking short rotations against a
Yes.
man with a hammer while I have little pellet gun?
You got
Yeah,
it.
I
You
got you.
got it. So we just want to understand the matchup a little better of like, do we have enough of a lead? Do we have enough of a lead? Oh, we have enough of a lead, we'll brawl. Or you've forced the objective issue, so yes, we'll brawl. Oh, you haven't yet forced the objective issue? Let me go take high ground and poke you the whole way in. And then we have a big enough lead. I don't think you should get any more objective. progress, so I'll stop you, or you can have a little more objective progress because I'm not sure. Okay, now I have to take it type thing. So that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to go, it's okay, poke is perfectly fine to let the opponents get some progress while they build up their lead. Um, but then they're also going to go, okay, let me go retake and make sure that it's not that easy for you to get that deep a second time. Like, again, it's okay if on their first push, it takes you guys like a minute to soften them up and they get the cart to here. They get the cart to here. That's totally fine. That's in some ways normal. If you can stop them here, that's great. But like, soften them up and then be ready to punish them again on the way back. Don't just be like, okay, we're all hurdled on point. They're going to crush you. It's their job to crush you in those situations. So that's the thing. Same thing when it comes to this sort of stuff where it's like, wait, you should be setting up for a poke fight. Are there staggers to be had? Okay, there are. That's good. Because you got the stagger, that's fine. But do you want to get the stagger or do you want to set up? Oh, you're retreating from a fight and you're poking at the same time? Well, if you're going to do that, you should probably stop them from chasing you, or you should just go, nope, I'm done, and run away and sort of set up for the fight. You really need to have that kiting distance or that rotation distance that they have to cover before the fight starts for your hero to work, right? You have to be able to invest time or distance for your hero to work. So because that's in mind, we go, okay, perhaps I need to cut early or perhaps I need to commit late type thing. Okay, so you still with me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So those are really the two things that I would actually say are most important from this. Your superchargers, mostly fine. Obviously, this was deep, but we understand how that happened. We maybe didn't get quite as much value out of as we'd have liked out of this one, but I understand why it happened. Conceptually, really not a big deal. It made sense to deploy it when you deployed it. Your Mercy was hitting all of your supercharger timings, which is annoying, but you guys have a very similar timing, so it's not a big deal there. If I were to get into a third thing, it would be your halts. And what would I tell you about your halts?
I've used too many of them on targets that I just couldn't finish, and like there were opportunities where I'd put some like peck damage onto someone and I just didn't really finish them.
Right. So we'd really like to be using our halts to pull people back into line of sight rather than like if you were Ash, for example, and you didn't hit any shots and someone ran behind cover, would you then throw TNT and be like, "Yeah, I'm going to burn you behind cover."
No, there's no way you'd save it to like finish the person. That
And you're
makes
going to
sense.
think of halt the same way. Again, it's a little bit different because Halt enables other people to do stuff, but you got to make sure that those people have sightlines, have the ability to look, have cooldowns, whatever, and that's going to be most likely early in fights because once cooldowns have started cycling, they're back at different times and people get caught up in their duels and you don't know if they're at their angles. Whereas you're a tank at the beginning of the fight, you sort of looked around and established that everyone had angles where they were, etc. Right?
Yeah, so for
Okay.
halts, would you say that it'd be worthwhile to just like save halt like in solo queue ladder for like only the super duper perfect moments?
No, because
Would
it's a 6 second cooldown.
okay. So
So you
still try to just so don't be hell bent if not every halt is perfect.
Not every halt has to be perfect. You're going to use halts to peel off yourself. You're going to use halts to force recalls. You're going to use halts on someone who maybe you didn't get down to 50%, but you got to 70%, and you're going to be a bit greedy and think, I think I can take them from 70 to 0 before they go. And I think I'm going to get a little bit of help, even if it's not a perfect headshot from Ash, McCree, whatever. Like, it's too short of a cooldown to be like, I'm only using it in the perfect situations. But by the same token, someone feels a lot more pressure. If you halt a 70% Anna into the open, her team's probably going to like panic and like throw bubbles and she's going
Right.
to nade and do all that. If you halt 100% Anna into the open, she doesn't even have to nade immediately, right? She can be like, okay, fine, I'll nade. But it's probably not going to be like, oh, quick, everyone commit resources, etc. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of dimensions to that.
There are. And I wouldn't focus too much on that. Like I got pretty nuanced on that last part there and I wouldn't really
So the
focus on
bigger
it too
the
much.
biggest things are point one and point two, right?
Yes.
Barriers and just
Yes.
overall positioning. Okay.
Okay. Good. Good. Okay. With that in mind, do you have any questions, comments, anything else you're like,
Nope.
wait, no, this unlocked? Okay. Cool. Cool. Then we will go ahead and call this one here.